Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming to an evening of poetry. I'm John Smalley. I'm a librarian with the Humanities Department on the third floor of the main library. And we have a very special edition of Poem Jam this evening. While I'm waiting for a couple more folks to join us, I want to take a moment to recognize our community. On behalf of the Public Library, we wish to welcome you to the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this place and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place. As guests, we who reside in their traditional territory recognize that we benefit from living and working on their homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. In case any of you are here for the first time, I just want to mention that the Poem Jam poetry reading series takes place typically on the second Thursday of each month. So I hope that you will come back the second Thursday of June, where we will have a reading devoted to Bay Area trans poets. And if you want to learn more about what we have to offer, you can pick up a flyer or newsletter on the table there at your right. There are also limited editions of the Poem Jam pin. There are some of those. Grab one of those. There's also coffee and cookies. Please help yourself to all of that. So that ends my announcements. Now I want to turn the microphone over to our host, Kim Shuck, who curates this series. Please give a warm welcome to Kim.
Hey, folks. So my background, my father's Native American, and this language issue is really serious to a lot of us because of the lengths to which the United States government went to eradicate our spoken languages. And when I heard that one of the actions that our current president took was declaring English as the official language, I thought, So I just want to celebrate all of the great languages, particularly in the San Francisco Bay Area. There was an event that took place some years back. I want to say it's like 12 years ago. Somebody came to do a documentary, an audio documentary about the poetry in San Francisco, the writers in San Francisco. And the first question she asked me is, why did I think so many great writers come from San Francisco? So I took her for a walk. And we walked from the Bay up through North Beach, through Chinatown, over to Union Square, and back to her hotel. At the end of which I asked her how many languages she thought we'd heard. And she said maybe 5 or 6, and I said, try 20, at least 20. 20 that I recognized, and I don't know all of them. I think one of the reasons this is such a vibrant literary community is that we have an array of difference in patterns of thought, in patterns of reasoning, in the sounds that happen. I think it's a really important factor for the Bay, and I really appreciate these poets for coming to play with us tonight so that we can hear some of them. Our first poet is Keana Labra, who was introduced to me by Eileen Casanetto, San Mateo County Poet Laureate Emerita, and a good friend. And I basically had booked her so often I couldn't possibly book her again to come read in Tagalog. Because it does start looking like favoritism. I think she'd read for me twice in 3 months. Obviously, give other people a chance. And I knew there had to be other people I didn't know about. So she didn't hesitate. She immediately said your name, Keana, which is big praise. So put your hands together and welcome Keana to the mic.
Kumusta tanan? Kumusta po kayo? Thank you, Kim. Maraming salamat. Salamat kaayo. I'm Keana Aguila Labra, and I'm so grateful to be here, especially during Asian American Pacific Islander Desi Heritage Month, being here in the city and being invited by Poet Laureate, oh my God, I just learned how to say this word, emerita. Yeah, I learned something. Kim. This prompt was actually really perfect with the recent release of my first full-length book, The Language of Unbreaking. Thank you. Which was born from the loss of my lolo. So Lolo and Lola are one of the last fluent Cebuano speakers in my family, and you can see with the generational demise of language within my own family. So it's Lola and Lolo spoke Cebuano to each other, but then Tagalog to my dad and his siblings. Then my dad and auntie and uncle speak to myself and my cousins in English. And that's only in 3 generations and I can't blame them because this is their intent to survive. They're trying to maneuver capitalism and colonialism and trying to make a better experience for us young ones to try to diminish racism as much as possible. So this is not only the language of my family, but the language of relearning my family heritage languages. And I was just speaking with Kim that, these poems there will still be English in it because my lived experience is Seb Taglish, Cebuano Tagalog English. But I just really am so happy and honored to be here to share this with you all. So this is from The Language of Unbreaking. Gundiman for Marty Delgado. I'm always longing for home, so much so my friends let me sing of San Jose until my voice is hoarse. The same way they let me sing of the Josefa and Joseph before me. They know my Lola Josefa as Josie. This is how we denote family, by the way we know names. They love her too. They think of her hands atop her belly and movies of vengeance and feel her strength. So Marty, just this once I'll sing for you. Kasi meaning yung yan, this kundiman, leave it to our people to blend beauty with freedom. Let me tell you a story. The story begins in the sky. I saw our beloved Pacific and thought of you. How we talked about keeping cultures and fathers. My father was once a boy, was once Cebuano. I catch him sometimes, eyes closed in the kitchen, and I swear I can tell he's thinking of the archipelago. I miss this father I never knew. These are the things we decide to keep to ourselves. But promise me you'll tell me about how your father's fingers feel. How do they tell the story of grass? Promise me you'll tell me his name. Lula's Lula is now unnamed. I think that's the greatest tragedy. To go unknown, to go unloved. More importantly, there are more lessons to learn. I have to tell you a secret. We're cousins, after all. My grandfather and your grandfather the same. As I look down upon the Pacific, the waves were made in the shape of your name. Pamilya, noun, translated, family, a word from the language of unbreaking. Who is with us in our new home? Ito na, para kay Lola Amping. Gumagising si Lola mga 9 or 10 sa umaga these days. Akyat ni Lola sa kwarto ko kasi umaga sa akin is late for her. We are kusog kaayo, always reaching for the sun until her knees fall victim to gout. But ito na, this is how we once upon a time in East Side San Jose, perfect and Taglish, or more accurately, Seb Taglish, or Bis Taglish, or Taguanolish, or Tagsailish, because in this house, our house, we split grammar like bread, halo these languages wheat and brown, Tagalog, Cebuano, and English, though blended, is whole. Our lips, wolves, which is to say there is a wholeness in breaking, which is to say we break but do not separate. I believe she is the answer. She, Lola, Grandma, our center is grain, dirt, and sky, and everyone. I take her with me. shared in the eyes of Dodong, who calls me Inday. Inday as princess, as lady, as shapeshifter, as in Inday does not mean maid. And Inday ages into she who the youth call Manang, she who is band-aid on green helmets, brown boots, and fang to misplaced hate, which is to say she is good intention, she is wolf mother, wolf anchor, indomitable will as unrelenting fist because she refuses to walk in the winter. So we exercise around the kitchen, and I learn to steal my skin every time she tapons another one of my dishes. On these days, I miss Lolo the most. We miss Lolo the most. The master of Chicharon's talsik, conductor of wolvish orchestra, and symphony of smacking in delight despite skill or taste, but in the celebration of food. Which is to say, I was raised in gratitude. My ears long for the simplest exchange, quick, engahi, where direct translation is not necessary, and these ears feel to understand. Where Katay and Loyola meet and become Ilihan, Mandaue, and San Fernando, Cebu. Each word marbling as it touches air, becoming sound, my tongue yearning to wrap around its staccato this kundiman of want, because what is weekend without neighbor and mariachi and the pitter-patter jazz of the rain and how it mimics the speed of Lula's voice. How our chins bow when we say uulan. I catch it, and with its permission, let it sit on my teeth and travel to my bones. Because I thank God for Google Maps and its image history so I can go back to February 2020 and see the house as it was when it was ours. This is what we lose in passing. This is what we lose, our brown skin. This is what we lose in passing. This is what I keep on this earth that was his, just a picture, just a snippet. And I can't properly describe in this language or the next the loss of a keeper who didn't pass down the key. I am born from their wheat, but how do I break into bread? I gut my insides in the hopes of finding seeds, but my pare waves his hand, a beckon. And we sit in this bahay de pan, in this pan de buhay, because I am hija de pan, and he reminds me to be patient. For what I know is wit and love. For what I feel is home. And in my palms are ambots as offerings. I nod no and laugh bitaws. I promise chismis to all my ates, kuya, manog ug mga kaibigan. Because tanan and tayo means we. Letter to letter lined with our being, each word, the sampagitan stitching of us. Fairy tale becomes prayer. A prayer of forgiveness, a prayer of peace. In the name of her, Apo, and the Holy Spirits, Lula, Ugnana, Lula, at Nini, my grandma, and me. Kamatayon, noun. Translated, death, a word from the language of unbreaking. How do we remember those gone in this new land, in this new language? What if we didn't die? We would move faster than atoms and grow beyond trees. Our houses would shelter acres and acres of branches. Our skin would still bruise, but bear 3 arms, the more to bring pagkain to all our lulas. We are eternal. We are a force. All of my lulas exhale, and with it they bring upon the season's chain. All of my splinters never ruptured nor cut anyone. I am smooth. I am whole. I would never need Google Translate because all of my translators carry 4 tongues. I would never need Google Translate kasi nandito sila sa dila ko. Nandito wala si Ingles. Kay anya sila sa akong dila. Wala dinhi ang Ingles. I would always speak in 2s. My lolo would talk forever. Into the night, across the day, his eyes would become purple as amethyst, as royalty. He would know his father, and he would know me. I wouldn't need memory. The wrinkles in my brain could unfold and recrease, and it would be okay. I would be more than okay, and I would know them all. Ako, Pronoun, translated, me, a word from the language of unbreaking. Who have I become in this land with my familia in our home? I was born on a Sunday. Matcha makes morning. The birds visit the rosemary, and I tell them Lula will return in 2 days. I separate the years by its shape, and I am surprised at my strength. For I swum to its lowest hues, still found my way to surface. The God to whom I pray was once a girl who broke stride during a race to help another. A girl who knew grit. The God to whom I pray was once alone, hands on blue leather, nodding to a white coat and transducer. This God, no longer girl, is still here. Not only here, but knowing joy. I watch the tree sway to my laugh at 4, 16, and 27. All these years it took to remind me I'm not alone. I hold his hand and then mine. Tomorrow, I'll wake and make matcha. Tomorrow, I'll know I have a life well lived. Maraming salamat. Salamat kaayo. Thank you so much, Kim.
You make me want to go right. Another round of applause, please. Our next poet is a dear friend, and I was actually trying to remember how we met. It may have been that somebody told me to book you for something, and we met at one of my readings. It may have been that we were both booked for a reading. I don't remember anymore. Huh? That is right. That is right. At any rate, this person has made herself quite at home in my life, and I am just enriched by that in ways that I can't even express. In addition to being just a stellar human, Preeti Vangani is one of my favorite poets, and we don't see each other half enough, so I am absolutely delighted to call her up to this microphone. Please, applause, welcome her to the mic. Preeti Vangani. I love you too so much. Thanks for being here.
Oh, wow. I'm emotional. I moved to San Francisco straight from Bombay 9 years ago, and Kim was one of the first poetry friends I made, and, welcomed me into so many readings, so many spaces. I've been in this room before, and I feel so incredibly lucky to come back. And with such a poignant and rarely spoken about topic, especially for poets like me. I think the point of otherness for Indian poets writing in America in English, there's always the question of what my English is. And where I grew up in Bombay, I went to Catholic school. English was the primary mode of instruction, but we learned 2 other languages for 8 years. One was Hindi, which is the national language of India, and Marathi, which is my state language. But I am actually, my mother tongue is Sindhi. That's also my ethnicity. And Sindhi is a quickly dying language, especially in the written mode, because it originates from the Indus Valley, primarily in what is now Pakistan, and then a lot of Sindhis sort of who lived on the other side of the border, but also migrated from Pakistan. And I am from there, from Larkana. Both my grandfathers moved from Larkana, which is now in Pakistan, to India. But my daily diet of poetry consumption as a child was primarily through Bollywood movie songs, which flirt with Hindustani / Hindi and Urdu continuously, because all of our lyricists sort of, have a very equal and beautiful footing in Hindi as well as Urdu. So I've always known Hindi also to be an amalgamation. I've always known English to be an amalgamation of Hindi and English. So, and it shows up in the writing, not just as like words and lines and phrases and idioms, but as a sensibility. And I have found that sensibility to be ever present in, poets from India, the subcontinent, who moved to the States, moved to UK, and, how to like stay true to that sensibility while incorporating your lived English in this part of the world. So it makes for a very interesting dynamic, and a lot of this language of, how to write this way, and I think I'm going to be like the poet nerd for the evening, came to me from Aga Shahid Ali, who made, I think most popularly folks know him to be the person who made the ghazal so popular in America, and, giving American poets like a way into writing the ghazal in its pure form. And he was like a complete stickler for it, because the ghazal comes from an Urdu tradition of poetry recitation. And one of the contributions of Shahid Ali, like one of the biggest things that he did, was he translated Faiz Ahmad Faiz, who was a marvelous and very important presence in his life. Almost one of his like iconic poets to like be reading. And he translated Faiz. A lot of, I think at least two other American poets also were translating Faiz at the time. And my nerd self has gone, back and forth between these translations. And the thing about a person who, like he grew up in Kashmir and spent time in Delhi, is that I think the difference between the translations is that the grace and softness that you find in the Urdu is very present in Shahid Ali's translations. So really this is an homage to translation from the point of view of transnational poets. I'll read a poem called Before You Came in Urdu first, and then the translation by Ali. And I hope that, we can catch the music and the rhythm, if not the meaning of the words, in the Urdu. Before you came. तुम जो न आए थे तो हर चीज़ वही थी कि जो है, आसमां हदे नज़र राह गुज़र, शीशाए माए, और अब शीशाए माए राह गुज़र रंगे फलक, रंग है दिल का मेरे खूने जिगर होने तक, चंपाए रंग कभी राहते दिलदार का रंग, सुरमाए रंग कभी साते बेजार का रंग, जर्द पत्तों का सासोसार का रंग, सुर्ख फूलों का दहकते हुए गुलजार का रंग, जहर का रंग, लहू रंग, शबे तार का रंग, आसमां रहा गुजर शीशे माए, कोई भीगा हुआ दामन, कोई दुखती हुई रग, कोई हर लहजा बदलता हुआ आईना है। अब जो आए हो तो ठहरो कि कोई रंग, कोई रुत, कोई शाय एक जगह पर ठहरे, फिर से एक बार हर एक चीज़ वही हो कि जो है, आसमां हदे नज़र राह गुज़र, शीशाए माए. And here's the translation, which can be found in a collection called The Rebel's Silhouette by Faiz Ahmad Faiz, translated by Aga Shahid Ali. Before you came, things were as they should be. The sky was the dead end of sight. The road was just a road. Wine, merely wine. Now everything is like my heart, a color at the edge of blood. The gray of your absence, the color of poison of thorns. The gold when we meet, the season ablaze, the yellow of autumn, the red of flowers of flames. And the black when you cover the earth with the coal of dead fires. And the sky, the road, the glass of wine. The sky is a shirt wet with tears. The road, a vein about to break. And the glass of wine, a mirror in which the sky, the road, the world keep changing. Don't leave now that you're here. Stay, so the world may become like itself again. So the sky may be the sky, the road, a road, and the glass of wine, not a mirror, just a glass of wine. It's beautiful. And he plays with, the syntax and adding and subtracting words a lot more than the other translations. For example, the Urdu does not say, and the glass of wine, a mirror in which the sky, the road, the world keep changing. It actually says in which everything keeps changing. The shape of everything keeps changing. But Ali sort of uses the sky, the road, the world for emphasis to bring in some of the romance and the grace through the emphasis that repetition allows us to linger in. All right. I'm going to read a poem. It's a short poem by a wonderful poet, Rajiv Mohabir, who writes nonfiction as well as poetry. And Rajiv's background is that he is fluent in Hindustani, Hindi, English, and a quickly dying language called Guyanese English, which is the English spoken on the island of Guyana. And he does this really interesting work where he writes in this trilingual format. So I'll read the poem first. It's actually written in Hindi, which is not the Hindi I speak in my house. The dialect borrows a lot from Bhojpuri and is spoken typically in the northern part of the country. And then he translates the poem, aptly it's titled Bidesiya, which means foreigner, into Guyanese English, and then English as you and I know it. And my partner is from Trinidad and Tobago, and Trinidad and Tobago have a similar, sounding English, still different. I think some intonations are still, lots of intonations are different from Guyanese English, but I've heard it so often, I heard his family speak it so often that, and observing it as a witness, them being told that they are not clear or coherent or ununderstood, made me re-look at Rajiv's poetry with such a greater lens of warmth and affection, in terms of he's really reclaiming this language that keeps getting pushed to the sidelines. Bidesiya. The word Hari keeps repeating, which is addressing the god Hari. हरी हम पीला भैली तो हार बिनु कोई पानी का नीला रंग गयाब हमार सब जड़ सुखैल फुलवा कहर से आई थे हरी हम पीला भैली हमार पिया गईले बाहर बहार आई के बाग सुनहार हमार सब जड़ सुखैल फुलवा कहर से आहियत हरी विदेश बुलावे हमके जाए हम पिया के पाछे काला पानी पार कराई के हमार सब जड़ सुखहील फुलवा कहर से आहियत. Bidesiya. This is the Guyanese English. Hari me go yellow, me thirsty bad, you na day. They plant root all dry out, how flower go grow. Hari metun blue, me love gone foreign. Spring come and the garden empty. They plant dry, how flower can stand there? Hari foreign does call me, fe go after me love, and cross the kala pani. All me root a dry, how flower go grow yaso. Hari I yellow without you so, water's blue disappears. All my roots dried, where will flowers bloom? Hari I yellow, my pia went abroad. Spring comes, the gardens empty. All my roots dried, where will flowers bloom? Hari, the foreign world beckons. I want to follow my pia crossing the Kala Pani. All my roots dried, where will flowers bloom? And I love that even in the last rendition of the English, the word pia, which means my beloved husband, lover, remains pia, and that's not translated. And now I will read a poem of mine, which has, it is in English, but it has symbols from like the Sindhi language, but also a lot of Hindi, as the speaker sees on television. Sanyu patata. It's a breakfast that was made every Sunday by my grandmother. Sanyu means vermicelli, and it's like extremely sweet, stewed vermicelli, and patata is potatoes, extremely spicy. So the two like come together on the plate, brown and yellow, golden. Both her replaced knees were past their shelf life, yet Amma insisted to cook sitting on a tall wooden stool, stirring vermicelli into sweetened milk up front. Second kadhai on back burner, blistering spicy potatoes while mummy, my tomboy mummy, played sous chef. And if her judgment went awry, for instance, with salt or cumin, Amma's ladle, that she whisked light as a wand in the oil's hot rivers lest cubed potatoes crack, would become not something Amma used but was armed with. This was often and normal. Normal as Shah Rukh Khan employing 100 words for love in a song where one would do Pyar, Ishq, Ashnai, Ulfat, Mohabbat, Meet, Yari, Preet, Junoon. So much love on TV, so much anger inside the house, sucked, sipped, swallowed. Spit it out, mothers, I wanted to yell. Look, Shah Rukh's playing his arms in a Jesus-wide stance, that smoldering smile. Even the sunflowers he prances around are swaying with blush. Everyone, even Mum, locking her palm into the right angle of Amma's elbow as she waddled off the stool, petty cursed her gone. Then she was gone. Much after my mother, though. And in my motherless Sundays, receiving my grandmother's liberal portions, I could have forgiven, but the way a Hindi song starts is how it ends, with a mukhda, meaning face, my mother's silence clogging my throat. All right, and I will end with a poem of mine, which when, Kim invited me to be here, I was like, I'm going to take this as a challenge and I'm going to fail miserably, but I will translate one of my own poems. I don't do translations at all. And the result sounds more like Netflix subtitles than a poem translated. But I will do the English first and then the Hindi. Hindi Urdu mixed up. Funeral whispers. So the cancer killed her? No, not really. The treatment? Radiation? A beam? Kind of. Kind of. One of a kind. She was full of light. She was depressed. Yes, come on, everyone is depressed. Depression is a sign of marriage. Or she hid a lot. In her chest? No, her throat. And the doctor said, this is very common among women like you. As if he knew her poor husband. He tried. A caring man, a saintly woman your mother was. What a terrible world this was. What a terrible word this was. God works in strange ways. Never did she have enough time. In time she could start. In time he could start looking again. Who will look after you? She won't be your mother. Come on. Understand. It's up to you now. Make her journey peaceful. If you keep crying, she gets stuck. But look, her mouth, it's still open. Thank you. Right, now time for the subtitles. जनाजे की सरगोशियां. कैंसर ने मारा क्या? नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. तो इलाज से मरी. रेडिएशन से. रेडिएशन? वो क्या है? सीने को रेंगती एक रोशनी की कतार. लगभग उसकी आंखों से कूदती थी रोशनी. हजारों में एक थी वो उदास थी. हाँ, लेकिन कौन उदास नहीं होता? उदासी तो शादी की निशानी है. वो छुपाती थी. कहाँ? सीने में? नहीं, गले में. और डॉक्टर ने कहा ये तो बहुत आम बात है महिलाओं के बीच, जैसे वो उसे पहचानता था। उसका बेचारा शौहर, उसने कोशिशें की, भला इंसान, बिल्कुल साधु महिला थी आपकी माँ। क्या खौफनाक ज़माना था, क्या खौफनाक था ये शब्द, था। भगवान के कर्म भी अजीब हैं। कभी भी था उसके पास वक्त अपने लिए, अब वक्त है कि उसका आदमी खोज ले फिर से। तुम्हारा ख्याल कौन रखेगा? तुम्हारी माँ थोड़ी होगी वो। चलो अब, समझो, सब तुम पर निर्भर है। उसे सुखी सुखी पहुंचने दो। तू रोती रही तो वो अटक जाएगी, पर देख उसका मुंह अब भी खुला है। Alright, thank you so much for having me and thank you for listening to me nerd out and translate. Thank you.
That was remarkable, and it brought up a couple things for me. What was Robin's last name, Doug? Lustig. Robin Lustig from the World Service of the BBC Online had come to talk to people in Silicon Valley about artificial intelligence. And he was asking if I thought it would replace poets. And I said, well, when I see that one of them has written a good poem, then I will worry. And we're very concerned about it, but there still hasn't been a good poem. So one of the things he asked me, though, was, being from the BBC, he said, you know, a lot of English people feel that what places around the world have done with English is abhorrent and horrible and offensive. And my response to that, which they did not put in the show, was that if English was going to get offended by what people did with it, maybe it shouldn't have been taught to them at bayonet point. And the Southeast Asian woman who was his engineer had to leave the room because she was laughing so hard. I'm not reading in Cherokee tonight, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I felt like I would probably need to translate it, and then I looked at some of my poems and realized that the stuff that I've written in Cherokee, there doesn't really translate because the idea doesn't unfold in the same way. And I'm hearing a little bit of that from other people in the reading, is that that's the case. The way that the language sort of unfolds means a whole lot. And Cherokee isn't my only familial language. The other language is Polish, and our next poet is actually was the first non-family member I heard speaking Polish in a really long time at a reading that Dan Brady, Sacred Grounds, and you were talking about Chopin, and it was a really warm moment, and I think I've been a huge fan, probably before then, but became an even bigger fan. So please put your hands together for Clara Hsu.
Thank you so much, Kim. Nothing gives me more pleasure than to read in Chinese. I was born in Hong Kong. I came to this country when I was 17, so I graduated from high school. And when I first came here, English was like a survival. So it became my dominant language. And it was only in the last 10 years that I started looking at Chinese poetry, Chinese literature. It was my love when I was small, but I got a chance to be reacquainted with it, and so it's wonderful. Except that when there was nobody to share it with, it felt kind of lonely until I found, until I started facilitate 2 Chinese poetry classes in 2 senior centers. So now every week I get to share Chinese poetry with them. It's wonderful. So the first poem that I'd like to share, I called it an immigrant song. I wrote it for my Cantonese play. I wrote a Cantonese play last year, was produced, and it was about immigrants. So this one, I'm gonna read it in Chinese, Cantonese, which is my mother tongue, and then I'll read the translation. 悠悠微夜，焉知我憂？天下同同，難忍我愁。五更天起，為龍整容，燦爛無雙，四海驕遊。Soft night, gentle, won't know my sorrow. The world looks on, my grief is plain. Rise early at dawn, prepare the dragon. Splendid like no other, roam the 4 seas. Thank you. Then I want to read you my favorite poem from a Song Dynasty poet. His name is So Dongbo or So Sik. And this is called Water Melody, a Burst of Song. So in the Song Dynasty, the poets like to write text to the rhythm of songs. So Water Melody, a Burst of a Song has nothing to do with the context of the poem. It's just a title because he's using that rhythm. And so I'm going to again read it in Cantonese and then the translation. 明月幾時有，把酒問青天。不知天上宮闕，今夕是何年？我欲乘風歸去，又恐瓊樓玉宇，高處不勝寒。起舞弄清影，何似在人間？轉諸角，低耳戶，照無眠，不應有恨。何事長向別時圓？人有悲歡離合，月有陰晴圓缺。此事古難全，但願人長久，千里共嬋娟。When will the bright moon appear? Asked the blue sky with wine in hand. Don't know in the heavenly palace what year is tonight. I would ride the wind and return, but am afraid of the bejeweled and jade dwellings so cold in high places. Dance and play with the swift shadows. I'm not on earth anymore. Turn from the red chamber, dip under the carved windows. The sleepless one is enlightened. There is no regret when things always resolved at some other time. Humans have sadness, joy, separation, and union. The moon grows dark and bright, waxes and wanes. Nothing is perfect since ancient times, only that people may come together, far and near, to be with the moon. Thank you. Okay, so this time I'm not going to read any translation. I'm going to read you a ballad. And you all know this ballad if you watched the movie Mulan from Disney. Have you all watched it? Everybody, okay. So then I don't need to tell you what it is. But this was the original poem written about the story. It came as a ballad. It's a little long, so since you know the story, I don't need to say anything. 唧唧復唧唧，木蘭當戶織。不聞機杼聲，惟聞女嘆息。問女何所思？問女何所憶？女亦無所思，女亦無所憶。昨夜見軍帖，可看大點兵。軍書12卷，卷卷有夜明。阿爺無大兒，木蘭無長兄。願為市鞍馬，從此替爺征。東是買駿馬，西是買鞍韉，南是買轡頭，北是買長鞭。但辭爺娘去，暮宿黃河邊。不聞爺娘喚女聲，但聞黃河流水鳴濺濺。但辭黃河去，暮至黑山頭。不聞爺娘喚女聲，但聞燕山胡騎鳴秋秋。萬里赴戎機，關山度若飛。朔氣傳金殔，寒光照鐵衣。將軍百戰死，壯士10年歸。歸來見天子，天子坐明堂，冊分12轉，賞賜百千強。可看問所欲，木蘭不用尚書郎。願借明駝千里足，送兒還故鄉。爺娘聞女來，出閣相扶將。阿姐聞妹來，當戶理紅妝。小弟聞姊來，磨刀霍霍向豬羊。開我東閣門，坐我西閣床。脫我戰士袍，着我舊時裳。當窗理雲鬢，對鏡貼花黃。出門看伙伴，伙伴皆驚惶。同行12年，不知木蘭是女郎。紅兔卻薄索，雌兔眼迷離。雙兔傍地走，安能辨我是雄雌？Thank you. Did you get it? Did you get it? Okay, so here's a little show and tell. I really like a woman poet in the Song dynasties, actually is a contemporary with So Dongbo, which I just read. Her name is Lei Qingjiu. Lei Qingjiu was she was famous in her time as as an incredible poet. Unfortunately, being as a woman, she stayed home. And she had a very good marriage, but her husband died young. And so all her poems, it's about being very intimate in her room and loneliness. So when I translated her poem, I was looking for an artist who would express that same feelings. And I found this painter. She is actually in San Francisco. So I looked her up. I went to one of her exhibits. I talked to her. She gave me permission to use the image to put the poem together. So I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to read you this particular one because it is actually quite famous. Her poems was translated into English by different people. I'll read Cantonese first, and then I'll read the English. Sing sing man, chum chum mik mik, lang lang ching ching,凄凄慘慘戚戚，乍暖還寒時候最難將息。三杯兩酒淡酒，怎敵得晚來風急？雁過也正傷心，卻是舊時相識。滿地黃花堆積，潮水損。如今有誰堪摘？守着窗兒，獨自怎生得黑？梧桐更兼細雨，到黃昏，點點滴滴。這次第怎一個愁字了得？Groping, searching, desolate, dreary, sobbing in misery, the abrupt warmth in time of cold respite takes effort. 2-3 cups of thin wine, how can they resist the rush of night wind? Geese flying past while the heart is hurting, but they are old acquaintances. Yellow petals piled on the ground, who will bother to pick sallowness? Keeping watch at the window, how does solitude fare darkness? The parasol tree and light rain, until dusk, drip, drip, drop, drop. How can a single sad word embodies the entire landscape? Slow cries. Do I have time for one more? Should we? I want to share one more of this and then a very short poem. So this is another one. Wait, I put on the wrong one, but then, okay, so anyway, I put on the wrong one. So here, you can see the other one, but that was for the first poem. Sorry. Right? No. Oh, no. No, I'm good. Wait. Okay. So you can enjoy this, but this is not the poem that I'm reading you. 一剪梅，紅藕香殘，玉臉秋。輕解羅裳，獨上蘭舟。雲中誰寄錦書來？雁至回時，月滿西樓。花自飄零水自流，一種相思，兩處閒愁。此情無計可消除，才下眉頭，卻上心頭。A cut of plum branch. Autumn's red lotus, burnt incense and jade mat. Untie the translucent gown, step onto the orchid boat. Who would send a message on silk high above the cloud? When the geese return as an ideogram, a full moon fills the west pavilion. Flowers drift and water flows on its own accord. One kind of reverie, 2 parts of leisurely sadness. Nothing can dispel the feeling. The moment It drops from the brow. It swells in the heart. Okay. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you.
Do you ever get an idea and then you sort of kick it over to other people and it comes back to you better than you thought? That's what tonight was. Thank you guys so much. Can we have another round of applause for Keana and Preeti and Clara? Also for the San Francisco Public Library AV department, who are here for me 100% all the time. Thank you so much. John Smalley, who is my partner in crime for creating these readings, and generally the public library, where if nowhere else in this country just at the moment, then here for sure in libraries, people are celebrating the word and expertise and joy in language and diversity. And you know that famous Fox News talk show host asked, is diversity really our strength? Yes. Yes, diversity really is our strength. Thank you so much. Come back next time. We've got a great show.